Now we are going to put on we're going to start layering up some of the darker layers. So we have burnt sienna. We're going to put out some raw sienna. We have titanium white, and then I'm not sure if I'm going to use it, but those raw umber, I'm not going to put any out just yet, but I think we will end up using it. First, we are going to start rubbing out some of these lines, and I like to use a putty, like a kneadable eraser for that. I find those to be the best. I'm just going to use the ones that I don't basically need so much anymore. I'm just going to rub them out just enough so that I don't see them. Now I want to try, and actually what I will actually add a little bit of carbon black. Okay, so we have burnt sienna is very brown red. Again, we are going to mix in some white to make it a little bit more transparent. This is still quite not the right shade of brown red, so I am going to put out some raw umber. So I'm going to start with this colour, and there are a lot of kind of whiter marks in there, but we are going to ignore those for now and just put in a first layer first. What I am noticing is that it is still quite transparent, so this will most definitely be just, again, an underpainting layer. So I'm going quite far up to the edge here, and I'm really paying attention to the tip of the brush and using that to my advantage. The edge here on the head, it's not a straight line, rather it's kind of like small fluffy feathers sticking out almost like hairs or fur. I am just trying to emulate that a little bit by using the tip of the brush for that. And then as we get closer to the head, it gets increasingly darker. So I'm using very short strokes here. I'm literally, it's kind of like just dabbing the brush to get the texture. And then we have the white. And so we have some more highlights further up, and actually now I'm just making some on the spur moment decisions. What I think I might do is that I was going to put some white into the paint there, but the white is it's just very matte, and you can see kind of the shading underneath. So what I might do is paint this dark like this, and then I will shade the white on top of that instead of blending it in, because I think that will give a better effect, with the exception of further down towards the beak, because that is so light that I don't think there's any point to that. So we're going to go further down, and I'm just paying a bit more attention to where. So we have a little bit going in just underneath the cheek. Is it a cheek? I'm not sure. And then now I'm really paying attention to where the transitions are. So these transitions, they have a lot of white specks in the mix, and we're just not going to pay attention to that at all. This looks very, very dirty, and that is fine. There is a bit of white here. There's actually a lot more white here, but I think I'm just going to overlay that quite a lot later on, and I think it will be a good effect to have that darker underneath there. So now moving further down towards the wings, I can see that the colouring is starting to be a little bit more yellow. It's still very dark, so I'm going to keep a hold of, I'm basically just mixing in more raw sienna in with the burnt sienna and the raw umber. And the first most obvious thing for me is to start with the big wings, which is here. And now I'm painting over that bit that the white feathers will overlay later on. And I'm also painting over a bit that's quite a lot darker. So it's kind of like a real fine line between marking it out and also, so I'm just marking out what bit of the feather was a bit darker there. So don't forget to do that. And there is the one underneath there is also very sameish. And then this bit is very dark, and we have two small feathers here. And this feather ends just where this dark line starts. So I'm constantly looking for reference points. I'm actually just going to mix a little bit of black in with that, and I'm going to put in, we're just paying attention to the edges and if they're hard, if they're soft, if they're fluffy, like as if it's made up of hairs and feathers. Just really paying attention to the lines. There we go. And I'm going to continue to map out. So like I can make several choices here how I do this, and it's going to be a mix of different things. So this is essentially, I think it's about 3 or 4 feathers in this section here. So what I could do is just do one colour and then overlay with the white, which I think I might do, especially on the first layer. I think actually, considering how transparent that paint is, I think that's actually a pretty good call. And I'm laying a really, really light layer because I haven't mapped out. So I still want to be able to see some of the pencil marks underneath that. And I've kind of helped myself by mapping out some of the darker areas. As you see, I'm already painting over those, so I can almost hardly see them anymore. And that's fine. But I can see them enough so that I can refer back to them. Okay, so we have 1, 2, and then underneath, that is a very, very deep brown colour, almost red. So we're not going to achieve that in one layer as with the other things. There's going to be several other layers. Although I'm painting over almost everything that I'm doing, so this just looks like mush now, I'm also mentally really noticing where the lines are, what the shapes are, analysing and preparing for the next stages. So here, for example, this is very similar to this colour, but darker. So I'm going to adjust, and basically as long as I can see some of the lines through there, I'm just going to do a wash basically. And this section as well, there's a lot of dark marks just around that area. Let's just give this a wash before I do anything else. I think that's just what it needs. Yeah, there are lighter bits, especially around this area. There is quite a lot of lighter bits in there, but to be honest, I don't think, it's amazing how much more opaque it becomes as soon as you add a bit of white in there. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that section, I think. Pay attention to this. So I'm just going to leave that to dry for a bit.